What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the Mets PostGame Show right here on the channel. And unfortunately, we're talking about a 6-3 loss against the Cincinnati Reds as the offense was not good. Left 11 men left on base in today's game is basically the difference. And, you couldn't get the big hit. They failed once again for a comeback after the eighth inning, and they're over God knows what. 54, 55 at this point, trailing after 8 innings. But once again, the issue is basically everything today. It was, one of the nights where the offense didn't come through with runners on base. They've been outstanding the last, the whole month, and today wasn't one of their days. Jonah Tong, I mean, if you look at the numbers, he gave up 3 hits today, and all 3 hits were home runs, and it mounted into 4 runs in total. Those 3 home runs, and ultimately that was the difference in the ball game. The Mets scored 3, and those 3 home runs were four runs combined. So it didn't matter. Like maybe it would have been different if it was a 4-3 game. The Mets would have come through. Who the hell knows? But they did not. Unfortunately, the New York Mets did not come through offensively. I did not like Stanek coming in back-to-back days. He finally pitched out of his own jam yesterday. Don't pitch him today. Why pitch him back-to-back? There was no need for that. And again, who knew if the Reds would have only scored 4 runs, would the Mets would have came back? We don't really know, right? And yeah, Dolo, you know what? Drew Gilbert and the Giants, it wouldn't have mattered because Drew Gilbert wouldn't have been on this team. Where is Drew Gilbert playing? You know what I'm saying? Like, where's he playing? That's the problem. So Drew Gilbert might have not had many at-bats with the New York Mets anyway. So he wouldn't have been a part of this team. And yeah, Drew Gilbert and the Mets and Giants are hot with Jose Butto. That's great. The Mets offense has been outstanding. Drew Gilbert wouldn't have made it better. It's already really good. It's number 1 in baseball over the last month. So it is what it is. Drew Gilbert has an opportunity to play with the Giants because there's room there. There's not room with the New York Mets. That's it. So it's unfortunate, but the Mets still control their own destiny. They're in the third wild card. They're up by 3 games. You gotta win 4 or 5 in a row. You can't just win 2, lose 1, win 1, lose 2, win 2, lose 2. You keep there's nothing in between here when it comes to what the Mets. There's no streak. It's been basically a seesaw. Couple of losses here, a couple of wins here, a couple of losses here, a couple of wins there. There hasn't been much of that. There hasn't been much enough winning consistently. Even though they've been staying afloat, that's what it's been. Well, Kev, but again, where was Gilbert playing, guys? Where was he playing? You had Tyrone Taylor. You traded for Cedric Mullins. No matter if you like either of them or not, they were playing. So, again, you're going to take Juan Soto out of the game to play Drew Gilbert, Brandon Nimmo? You're not. You're paying those guys a ton of money. Like, where were we playing them? Drew Gilbert really wasn't playing center field with the Mets. He was playing the corner outfield. So, and basically the Giants aren't even playing him in center field. So, again, where were you playing him? Yeah, Dolo, I understand that. But again, who are you playing? Like Tyrone Taylor's hurt. And don't give me a Luisano Acuna because Luisano Acuna's bat is just as bad as Cedric Mullins. So I don't want to hear about Acuna's bat. So again, this is what happens when the Mets lose a ball game. All of a sudden, Drew Gilbert's, Barry Bonds. And yeah, Mullins sucks, but find me somebody else. Who is it? That's what I'm trying to say. And Kev, I agree. I didn't want Mullins. I said it. I thought you should have went out and get Luis Robert. But again, Acuna is not a center fielder. He makes one diving catch, and everybody, oh, Acuna is a center fielder. Like, you're not doing that. You're just not doing that. And Drew Gilbert wasn't playing a lot of center field with the New York Mets. He was playing right field. So, and the way the Giants are playing him, he's not playing in center field that much. So it doesn't really matter. So, unfortunately, we're talking about Drew Gilbert like he would help this team how? How is this offense be better than it already is? It's number one in every category in baseball offensively. The only thing that they're number two in is home runs, and the Yankees are number one. So what is the difference? Like, why are we acting like Drew Gilbert would make the offense better? The offense is already number one in baseball over the last month. But again, this is the problem, guys. Why are you gonna bring up another kid that you're platooning? It has not worked with any of our prospects. It didn't work with Beatty, didn't work with Vientos, didn't work with Acuna, didn't work with Mauricio. But to me, what youthful spark offensively? What can we change offensively that we're already not the best in baseball over the last month? Again, we do realize we're in the playoffs, right? We all forget that. But Dolo, Gilbert's not a fire starter because you just like, where are you playing him? Don't tell me you're going to play him in center field because even the Giants are not playing him in center field. Like, let's not act like everybody in baseball isn't streaky either. Like, why do we just assume that being a wild card team is a debt trap when the Mets made the NLCS last year as the third wild card team? You're telling me that the Mets can't beat anybody all of a sudden? So now I'm the one being the idiot that's being positive when we're talking about Drew Gilbert here that wouldn't have helped this team offensively anymore than they already have. They're scoring 7.2 runs per game. I don't understand. We're talking about people that can't help this team. And Drew Gilbert was never here. And by the way, Drew Gilbert was dying in the Mets minor league system because Ryan Clifford passed him and Jet Williams has passed him on the Jet charts. That's it. Talk about the guys that are up here, that are in our system right now. Like, why are we bitching about Drew Gilbert? Like, he wasn't getting a spot on this team. He wouldn't get playing time like he was with the San Francisco Giants. That's the difference. Oh, David, what happened to the positivity? But Kev, it's not a small sample size. A month is nearly 30 games. 28, 27, 28 games. Actually, it's about that. It's about nearly 30 games because it started at the end of July. So it's not a small sample size. You could talk about the Giants being a small sample size. Now all of a sudden the Giants are a juggernaut who only been good for the last month. You got to be consistent. Don't say that, oh, the Drew Gilbert and the Giants, like Drew Gilbert wasn't he hit that, he made a great catch, but he was like 1 for 15, 1 for 20. He's only been good for a month. So isn't that a small stretch? Because of the fact that the Mets are in the playoffs right now. That's it. This was a rough game. This is the first time they scored 5 runs or less. In how long? And once again, blame our pitching. Why are we not blaming our pitching? Because everybody's afraid to blame our pitching. Let's not blame Jonathan. Why can't we blame Jonathan? Isn't it his fault to give up 3 home runs in 4 runs? Yes. He gave up 2 home runs in the minor leagues. You want to know the difference between minor leagues and major leagues? That fastball that he throws, that he was throwing on the inside corner, it was striking out guys in the minor leagues. They're turning on it in the major leagues. That's the difference. The walks that he usually has in the minors, he's walking between 3 and 4 guys a game. You can't do that in the big leagues. You're going to get burned. Right? Like, come on. like we gotta understand the fact that once again, Mets pitching gave up 6 runs. The Mets can't win games if they score 5 runs or less. Oh, excuse me. If they score 4 runs or less, they lose. They lose. It makes no sense. Like, I mean, what are we supposed to do here? Like, that's what I don't understand. Like, we cannot win games if we don't score more than 4 runs. That should be an issue. The pitching is an issue. Don't give me the hitting. Drew Gilbert, how many more runs do you want per game? There's nobody in baseball scoring more runs per game than the New York Mets. They're giving up nearly 6 runs a game since June. And even in the last month, it's been around the same thing. It's been a little bit better because of Nolan McLean. Right? I know Jonah Tong is supposed to be Cy Young. Right? David, you said, hey, don't worry, Rob. You got Jonah Tong here, right? You talked about Glavine, Maddox, Smoltz. Yeah. Give it a break. Exactly, Patrick. Right? Drew Gilbert only started to get hot this month. The Giants only started to get hot this month. No, David, you did say that. And a lot of people in here know that you said that. So it's okay. It's all right. Again, it's not about being positive here. It's just the fact I'm still bitching about the pitching. The pitching's still not good enough. But everybody, you're not allowed to blame the kids, the prospects, even though the Mets made them out to be our saviors. They're not going to say that, but it's obvious. They're so desperate because Stearns did a shitty job with the rotation that you have to trust all these guys, not just to be a helpful piece to the puzzle, but our saviors. That's the problem. Talk about that. This was never the plan. If you believe that was the plan, you're an idiot. And if you don't like me calling you an idiot, that means I'm telling the truth. I am blaming Stearns. This is on Stearns. Montas, Manaea, Holmes. All Stearns. All Stearns. Kodai Senga, expected him to be an ace when he's not an ace. He's not even a top 2 starter. If anybody believes that, once again, you are an idiot. And again, if you don't like that I'm calling you an idiot, you're probably sure know that it's the truth. Like, and David, you don't know baseball. You clearly don't, because you were saying Smoltz, Glavine, and Maddox was Jonathan McLean and Brandon Sproat. Brandon Sproat hasn't even thrown a pitch yet in the majors. Jonah Tong couldn't hold a lead. Could even stop giving up home runs today, even though he only gave up 2 in AA and AAA this year. Sorry. I don't care. You guys are nuts. And you know what, Kev? I agree, right? But you can't give up the long ball like he did. Again, that fastball he was striking people out with, that he's blown people by in the minors, they're turning on that pitch. You can't walk 4 guys in Major League Baseball. You're going to be in trouble. If this was not Jonah Tong and this was Clay Holmes' start, people would have bitched about it. But no, you're not allowed to say bad things about these kids. Because you know what? Maybe there is still a little bit more development, right? Jonah Tong basically had 2 good pitches as a starter. He's developing that slider that is still a work in progress. You know what a work in progress needs to be? A pitcher in the minors trying to work on a 3rd pitch. It's very hard to be successful as a starter in Major League Baseball on 2 pitches. So we have a kid, who I think is going to be good. But right now, we don't need somebody who's developing. This is the problem with the New York Mets. This is also on David Stearns. You know, when you bring up 47 guys that play the same position in 3rd base, 2nd base, and you can't play them every day, that hurts all their development. That is stupid roster construction. David, I did watch the game, but you want to blame everybody else than the actual people that put this team together and the players that are on the field. I don't know who you're blaming. You're blaming Mother Teresa or somebody. You're blaming everybody else but the people that should be blamed. Yeah, exactly, David. But this is the first game this team hasn't scored more than 4 runs in how long? You can't win every game 7-6, 5-4, 6-5. It's not sustainable. Didn't I tell you that? I know you don't want to believe me, but it's not sustainable. You're going to have offensive games like the Mets had. You scored 3 runs. How about not giving up more than 2 runs? You know, the rules are in place where the Mets can actually win games 3-2. That's it. I'm not saying the offense was good today. They weren't. But can we win a game 3-2? When was the last time the Mets won a game 3-2? How many games did they win 3-2 over the last month? Maybe 1, maybe 2. You're giving up 6 runs per game. The only reason why the Mets are winning is because the Mets are scoring 7 runs per game over the last month. That's it. How about Jonathan keep the ball in the ballpark? How about not walking 4 guys? Technically, if you look at it, it wasn't a bad performance, but all 3 hits he gave up were home runs. The offense has been consistent over the last 30-plus games, little over a month. So the offense was inconsistent nearly all year. You can't blame the offense in this game. You can if you really look at the numbers. Yeah, sure. Oh my God. God forbid the Mets don't score 7 runs because David's not allowed to talk about the pitching because they're not allowed. So the offense, you have to blame the offense because the first time in 30 days they actually didn't score 4 runs or more. We got to stop. We got to stop and act like the pitching's okay. You gave up 6 runs again. Yesterday, you gave up 5 runs. You want to go over the numbers? Let's go over the numbers. I want to go over the scores. You know why? It makes me feel better that people don't pay attention. And then I have to school people on people who watch the games. You watch the games, but you don't look at the scores. David Stearns put this team together. David Stearns put the majority of this rotation together. Montas sucks. Manaea sucks. Holmes, at best. Speaking of Kodai Senga like he's a top 2 pitcher, you're an idiot. And that's all Stearns. It is all Stearns. So here, let's just go over all these games, right? Let's go all the way back, right? The Mets scored 3 runs, they lost. They scored 12 runs, they win. They scored 12 runs, 4 runs, they lose. 6 runs, they lose. They lose a 3-2 game. They scored 1 run. That was during the Cleveland series. That was when we were really struggling. This is when it started to get a little bit better. 2-3, we win. Oh, we scored 4 runs, we lost. We scored 6 runs, we lost. We scored 5 runs, we scored 13 runs, we win. We scored 6 runs, we lose. We score 4 runs, we lose. 9 runs, lose. We win game 3-1. So that's 2 games over the last in the beginning of August. We score 7 runs, we win. 8 runs, win. 4 runs, loss. 4 runs, loss. 12 runs, win. You see the trend here? They're scoring 4 runs basically almost every game, and they're losing. But David, I agree with you. But if everybody wants to blame the coaches because, again, you need a scapegoat because you can't fire the players. Right? So let's blame Hefner. I blame Hefner. But am I blaming Hefner for Montas, who has not been good in 5 years? Am I blaming Hefner on Manaea, who didn't need Hefner to change his mechanics last year, was good for 4 months, and everybody portrayed him as an ace? You're an idiot. You portrayed him as an ace, you're a moron. You're an idiot, you're a moron, whatever word you like, you are. David, it's not inconsistent because you're scoring 7.2 runs per game over the last 30 days. That's more of a sample size of what the offense should have been all season. I agree with you. They've been inconsistent from April until mid-July. But from mid-July until now, they're the best offense in baseball, except for home runs. And they're number 2 in home runs. No, David, Tong didn't keep the Mets in the ballgame. He gave up 4 runs in 6 innings. Again, here we go again. This is a guy that's supposed to be a phenom, right? This is his first start where it was a close game. He didn't do his job. He gave up 4 runs. That's it. It's not a good outing. I'm sorry, it's not a good outing. It was a close game. It was. I agree. It was. But you're not going to win every game 5-6, 6-5, 7-5. You can't win every game like that. I told you it's not sustainable. Your pitching actually has to win games where it's a 3-2 game. You can't win games 6-5 every game. It's not sustainable. No offense in baseball has been better than the Mets over the last 30 games. Nobody. And David, blame the offense because you do this every night. Whoever's bad that day, you'll blame that guy that day, that team, those guys that day. But yet, the outlook of the whole thing is that the fucking pitching sucks. The pitching has always sucked. The pitching has sucked for nearly 4 months now, and it's the same shit. And I agree with you. Lindor's base runner was bad. The hitting wasn't great today. But they're not going to be great every day. No offense is great every day. None of them. No offense in baseball has been great every day. You have to win games 3-2. And I'm not blaming Hefner. All right. I don't think Jonah Tong is developed enough. This kid is going to have issues. You know why? Because he's a 2-pitch pitcher. His slider is still developing. Again, everybody wants to think that you can develop in the major leagues and still try to win. It's very hard to do that. Now, McLean is developed. Sproat, I don't know. I don't give a shit what he does in the minors. I don't care about his numbers. You're going to give me minor league numbers? I'm going to shove them up your ass because I don't care about minor league numbers. Jonah Tong was outstanding. He gave up 2 runs in the minors this year. In AA and AAA, he gave up 3 in 1 game. So throw every stat out the window. And you know what? They should have kept Quintana, right? Obviously, Mr. Stearns, who is Mr. Cheapo, wants to give $17 million a year to Frankie Montas instead of getting what? Quintana got what? $5 million, $6 million, whatever it was? Yeah, he should have. I think we would have been okay. But you know what? A lot of Met fans did not want Quintana prior to last September. So all of a sudden, everybody loves Quintana all of a sudden when everybody didn't want him on the team. So too bad. It is what it is, right? Stearns put this rotation together, right? He believed Senga was a top 2 pitcher. I mean, I laugh in my sleep with that because that's the dumbest thing ever. Everybody just assumed Minaya was going to be as good as he was for 4 months last year and just going to continue that. When he changed his mechanics, I told you he was going to get hurt in the offseason prior to signing him. He did. He's never been the same. Like, we're shocked that the last 5 seasons of Sean Manaea was not good prior to the last 4 months of last year. He wasn't a good pitcher. He was average at best over the last 5 years as a starter. And we just all of a sudden think at, starting to hit the age of 33, 34, that he's all of a sudden an ace of a staff. Like, I mean, you can't be that dumb. Like, well, sure. But do you think Tong's fastball wasn't going to get hit 390 feet over the wall or 400 feet over the wall because Alvarez behind the plate? Stop giving Alvarez so much credit. He's still another work in progress. Because this guy was the number 1 overall prospect in baseball, and he's been very underperforming. So I don't want to hear about injuries. He's injury prone, which is, again, availability matters. That's another thing. The guy is not even in his mid-20s yet, and he has more hand injuries than a 40-year-old that plays baseball. So, and the lineup is flip-flopping. He's a freak hitter? No, he's not. He's an inconsistent hitter. Like, let's be honest about that, right? He's supposed to be a big power guy who is now hitting singles. That's what he is. I wish we can take that grand slam he hit in the minors and use it to the Mets. But you know what? AAA pitching is a lot easier to hit than Major League pitching. So, again, like, stop telling me Alvarez is a freak hitter. He's a average hitter who lost most of his power. Now, I think he still has a chance, but he's not doing anything here. And again, I don't think Mendoza's have a great year. I agree with you guys. I didn't like Stanek back-to-back days. I think you could have used other guys. But again, we scored 3 runs today. So again, God forbid the pitching actually doesn't give up 6 runs a game. Like, that has been the trend of this team since June, since the end of May. So that's the problem. Sure, David, I agree with you. And I agree with a lot of people that was talking about Mendoza. I absolutely agree with you. Like, when it comes to Mendoza, I think he's had probably a little bit of a sophomore slump. I truly believe that. Because everything he did last year, everything he touched turned to gold. Every decision he made worked out. And again, we all know how baseball works. You're going to get humbled. Everybody gets humbled. So, listen, it's a shitty game, but you have an opportunity tomorrow to win another series. You win another series, that should matter, right? The Reds are fighting for their lives at this point. Right now, they're behind 2 teams before they even can get to us, right? The Giants are winning. I don't know if they won yet, but they were winning. If the Giants win with 3, we're still 3 games up in the third wild card. We're only a half a game, and the Padres were winning the last time I checked. So we're a half a game from the second wild card. We're still 5 games from the Cubs, and we still played them. David, maybe they can, but why do we act like we lost a series? Like, we're playing teams that are fighting for their lives as well. Again, this wasn't a great game by any means. I don't think anybody played well today. I'm not giving Jonah Tong, I'm not throwing him roses. I'm just not. Again, we're in a playoff race here. I can't give guys brownie points because it's your second start. I don't want to hear that. This is what's gonna happen. This is the problem. If the Mets blow this shit, we're gonna make all the excuses in the world for these young kids if they don't perform. And I'm gonna be like, well, I told you so. Because you're relying on kids that probably shouldn't be up here, that probably still need a little bit more develop. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Sproat might pitch well tomorrow, but he is still in development mode. There's a reason why he was the 3rd one called up. Jonah Tong is a 2-pitch pitcher. It's very hard to be a 2-pitch pitcher in Major League Baseball and be successful. You need a 3rd pitch. His slider is supposed to be his 3rd pitch, but it's still in development. They talked about it on the broadcast. Yeah, David, I understand that. I understand we should be more concerned about winning the division. But right now, we have to just make the playoffs. And if you watch baseball over the last few seasons, it really doesn't matter where you position yourself in the playoffs anymore. Because it's been consistent that teams that are not probably the best team in the playoffs have gone on runs. It's the hot team that goes. Last year, it just happened that the Yankees had nobody playing against them in the American League, and the Dodgers were the best team, and they were red hot in the playoffs. So it just so happened that the Yankees and Dodgers made the World Series. But look at the other years. It was the Diamondbacks and the Rangers. So it's like the Rangers choked their division away and made the World Series and won it. The Diamondbacks, who everybody laughed at making the playoffs, went on an amazing run and made the World Series. David, no, we didn't need to take chances on these young players. The plan was never these young pitchers this year. Because if that was the case, if this was the plan, they should have been up here at spring training. They should have been able to win jobs. You don't pay Frankie Montas, Clay Holmes, and Sean Manaea in the offseason to join your rotation along with David Peterson and Kodai Senga if you had these kids planned in your rotation. And by the way, you had Tyler McGill. So you had 6 starters before you even talked about the young kids. The fact that all 3 of these guys are up is a failure by David Stearns. No, David, they don't get their feet wet when you call them up late in the year. That is not getting their feet wet. You're trying to win games. You're not trying to play, spring training in August. That's the problem. It's stupid. They were not planned to be. Maybe one might have been like a Nolan McLean. Maybe he would have burst that bubble and got into the rotation somehow, some way. But that's the problem. Like one of them, I could have seen, like a Nolan McLean. I could have seen that. But Jonathan and Sproat, it shouldn't have happened. Oh, David, you're bringing up Glavine, Maddox, and Smoltz again. Yeah, I don't care about the 90s. This ain't the 90s anymore. This ain't the late 80s into the 90s. This is the new age of baseball, right? If these kids were going, no, David, you don't understand. Because if this was their plan, they would have brought them up and they would have used them in spring training as like giving them jobs. But we already knew by signing all the guys we signed in our rotation that these kids weren't even an option. They were options. They were pushed into this rotation because Montas sucks and got hurt. Manaea sucks. Kodai Senga sucks. Clay Holmes is hanging on by a thread. David Peterson over the last month has sucked. There's nobody left in this rotation that you trust. So you had to go. You had no choice because David Stearns was so scared to get a starting pitcher in here at the deadline, you had to go. So unfortunately, David, you are wrong once again. And everybody knows that. So it's okay. Because once again, these kids are now have to be saviors, not part of the plan, but saviors. This is the problem. David Stearns, the only way to save face, and I guarantee you, if the Mets don't do anything in the playoffs and they burn out, the first thing Stearns is going to say was, I brought up the kids, which we all know was too late. You should have brought them up in June when we had no rotation. Who wanted to see Davinsky and Waddell and Hegerman in June? Maybe if you would have brought up a McLean, it could have maybe calmed the waters of this rotation a little bit when David Peterson was one of the best pitchers in baseball in that month. He was the only one pitching well. So it just doesn't make sense. If they were, it is too late, David. It is. It is. I'm sorry. It really is too late. I mean, everybody's seen David's comment, right? He did say the season's over, right? Start the hot stove. We'll remember that when the Mets win tomorrow and then, the Mets are winning the World Series, right? That's how it's going to happen. The fact is, they didn't plan for this. They overplayed their hand by giving Montas, Holmes, and Manaea contracts. Because, again, if they believed any of these guys were going to be ready, they would have planned for this. David Stearns got caught with his pants down. It's okay. Listen, he made a huge mistake this year. And he deserves a lot of blame, just like Mendoza, just like Hefner. And let's bring in the hitting coaches. Why not? So, again, I think and the Giants did lose. So, we're 4 games again. Oh, we don't have to talk about Drew Gilbert no more. The Giants lost. Yes. World Series back on. Drew Gilbert, bum. Giants, haha. There you go. Everybody's happy now. The Mets are back in the playoff contention all of a sudden because the Giants won, and Drew Gilbert isn't their savior. Wouldn't have been the Mets savior. We all know that, right? Are we okay now? We're all right. We can take a deep breath. Don't jump off the Shea Bridge, guys. It's okay. It's all right. I've jumped off that plenty of times. Well, David, good luck trying to get these guys again. Where's Senga going? Where's Manaea going? They ain't going anywhere. You're giving them money. You're giving them a lot of money. Like, I just don't get it. I am not happy about the wild card, but I am happy making the playoffs. That's what I'm happy about. Because I seen the Mets, who were the 3rd wild card last year, Take the Dodgers, who won the World Series, to Game 6 of the NLCS, where nobody expected them to even make the playoffs. Now, I'm not happy that we're not winning, that we're 7 games out of the division. That annoys me. It really does. 100%. I agree. I was talking about the division right before we played the Phillies, when people were saying it's over. It's still not over, even though they're 7 games out. They can win tomorrow. The Phillies lose. It's 6 games, and we got 4 games against them with 19 games to go. So a lot of craziness can happen. So, all the Phillies have to go is 3-7, and the Mets go 7-3. You're gaining 4 games right there. I agree, David. We had a lot of luck, but David Stern signed Manaea based on luck. You know what I'm saying? So again, but here's the difference between 2024 and 2025. The Mets are more talented in their lineup. Their lineup was never this good last year. Look at their runs per game. They were barely hitting 6 runs. Barely. They were like 5.5 runs per game. But what was the difference? Their pitching was better. Sean Manaea was outstanding. Luis Severino was better. The Mets don't even have any good pitchers compared to what Manaea and Severino did last year. Or even Quintana, for that matter. Or Peterson. That's the problem. They were better last year. Manaea and Peterson were better last year. They had Severino. They had Quintana. They don't have that now. They don't have that security blanket of a veteran like a Jose Quintana that can settle the waters and give you a solid 5 innings, 2 runs, 6 innings, 3 runs. They don't have that. Their pitchers give up 4 innings, 6 runs. Right? I love Jonah Tong went 6 innings today, but you can't give up 3 home runs when you only gave up 2 in the minor leagues in 1 game. You can't do that. I think this kid's going to be damn good. Now, I'm concerned. Now, he did throw his slider that is still in develop mode. He threw it about 10 times today because his other pitches wasn't really working. So you could see that he's starting to throw it, and maybe that gets him confident. I hope it does, because you can't lay a fastball on the inner half of the plate and think these guys are not going to turn on it in major leagues. They are. That pitch, you strike out a minor leaguer that's never going to make the majors. Like that's what you're going to do. But he's got to understand that, and he's a smart kid. You could see him adjust during the game, because after he gave up that last home run, you see him adjust, and that's a great sign. But again, he's learning on the job, which might be great for us next year. But it takes time over a course of a season, which Jonah Tong doesn't have an entire season to fix. It's going to take time. It might not be enough time for him to figure it out completely. And that's not Jonah Tong's fault. I'm not blaming the kid. I'm blaming the Mets and David Stearns for the lack of plan for these guys. You fucked up, and everybody knows it except for David. No, I am not putting my foot in my mouth. I'm not blaming Tong for the stupidity that David Stearns put this team in and put these young kids in. Jonah Tong is not being blamed for him not being fully developed and learning what he needs to learn and adjusting in-game and on the fly. That takes time, especially as a 2-pitch pitcher, and your 3rd pitch is being developed. It sucks. And you've seen the kid is smart on the mound. You see that. But that doesn't mean the next outing he's going to learn everything he needs to learn. I hope he does. It's going to benefit the Mets if he does. But a fact's a fact. He did give up 4 runs. He's got to limit the walks. I mean, why is this a problem throughout the New York Mets? Even Nolan McLean is walking 4 guys per game. Jonah Tong, 4 walks today. These guys had Nolan McLean and Jonah Tong have issues with walks in the minor leagues. They have the walks up in the major leagues. Their walks are exactly identical to what they're doing in the minors, walking people. And again, this has been a fundamental organizational problem. Their bullpen walks guys, their starters walk guys. It's a fundamental issue that the Mets can't fix. The same thing last year. Even though Manaea was great last year, Severino, Quintana, Peterson, their problem last year was walking people. They led the league in walks by their pitchers. And you know when it burned them? In the postseason. You know why? I'm going to tell you why. Because when you're facing the Nationals and you're facing the Pirates and you're facing the Rockies and you're facing teams at the bottom of the barrel in baseball, when you walk those guys, they're not going to come through more often than not because they're shitty teams. But when you face the Phillies and the Brewers and the Dodgers, that's when you get into trouble. The teams that actually can score runs and do damage with runners on base. The walks are the same this year of a problem as they were last year. They have not fixed that. And this has been different names that has joined the party. So it's unfortunate. David, I'm going to blame Stanek more than anybody else. And you could blame Mendoza as well. I didn't like Stanek in that spot back-to-back days. I didn't like that. But again, the Mets didn't score a fourth run. So again, the Mets wouldn't even tie the game. They scored 3 runs today. That's on the offense today. Again, it's hard to kill the offense when they're the best in baseball over the last month. The pitching gave up 6 runs yet again. So listen, the fact is, the walks have been a problem for the Mets pitchers all year, just like last year. It ended up burning us in the postseason last year when the Mets were just terrible in walking people. It seemed like every game they did it last year, and they're doing it again this year. Again, it's an organizational problem. These kids come up from the minor leagues, and their average walks per game in the minors are 4. And they're doing that in the majors. Now, Nolan McLean has been good enough to not let that affect him and affect how he pitches and how well he does, which is great. But we've seen what happens when you walk guys consistently. Eventually, they're going to score runs. You're going to give up those runs. Kodai Senga, remember when everybody used to talk about, Kodai Senga puts people on, but he always gets out of the gym. Well, he doesn't anymore. Now, I hope Nolan McLean don't follow suit and starts giving up those runs that he puts on base. Because you can't consistently walk 4 guys per game and think it's all going to work out. No, Jonah Tong, he walked 3 in his first outing, but he had a 10-0 lead, so it didn't matter. That's why I said that game is pointless to look at him as anything. This was a start where it was a good game. Yeah, David, I don't want to hear about injuries. I'm sick of injuries. That's the other problem with Senga. You trusted Senga when he's been injured every year of his Mets career. Even in 2023, he had issues. We signed him coming out of Japan knowing that he was injury prone. So, again, that's an organizational fault. Like, Senga, never healthy. You can never trust him. And he needs 13 days off every start just to actually get on the mound. Not to pitch well, but just to get on the mound. I'm so sick of Senga. I don't want to hear about Manaea's healing. Because if you're hurt, don't pitch. Don't pitch. You're on the mound and you're pitching. If you're not on the mound because you're hurt, you're hurt. But when you're on the mound, I don't want to hear about injury. Not after 10 starts. Because if he was great, would anybody be talking about injuries? No. So now that he sucks, it must be injury. Or Manaea hasn't been good in 6 years. And he had 4 really damn good months last year, and everybody portrayed him as this great pitcher. Maybe he's just an average pitcher or below average because that's what he's been for years now. And we act like he wasn't. Kodai Senga didn't pitch last year because he was hurt. 2023, the league never seen him. And we just assume, wow, look at Senga. Well, yeah, now they have a book on him. He's never stopped walking people, and now people are not swinging at that ghost fork because he never throws it for a strike. So what pitch are you looking for that he throws for a strike? His straight fastball at 96 miles an hour. That ball is going to get hit in the majors. And on top of that, he doesn't stop walking people. So the ghost fork that everybody knows now because they have a huge book on him, when 73% of the time, Kodai Senga throws that ghost fork out of the strike zone. So what do you think hitters are going to do? They're going to sit fastball, and they don't care about that ghost fork and not going to swing at it as often because they know he's not throwing it for a strike because either one, he cannot throw it for a strike, or he's just a type of pitcher that pitches one way and never adjusts. Kodai Senga never adjusted, ever. He hasn't adjusted at all. All he did is throw the same stuff. He keeps on throwing a fastball over the plate and throwing a ghost fork off the plate in any count. It doesn't work. They know what he's doing. So I don't think it's injury with Kodai Senga. I think that everybody figured him out, and Kodai Senga doesn't know how to adjust with that during the game or in game or even from start to start. He just doesn't. He throws the same thing every time. No matter what count, he'll throw the ghost fork. No matter what count, he'll throw a fastball. But again, when you throw 73% of your ghost fork pitches out of the strike zone, these hitters are not swinging at it anymore. That was the key to Kodai Senga's success, is hitters swinging at balls outside the strike zone and ghost fork pitches, and they're not doing that no more. So they're relying on, they're waiting for that fastball, and they're killing them. And on top of that, he walks people. So those walks never used to hurt Kodai Senga. Why? Because they were swinging like crazy at that ghost fork pitch. Now, they're not swinging at that ghost fork pitch. He's walking more, and he's giving up more hits on that fastball because they're looking for it now. Simple baseball. It's not hard. Kodai Senga needs to adjust to the league. That's how actual big leaguers stay, people who came from the minors to the majors stay in the majors. Kodai Senga never adjusted. That's his problem, not injury or anything like that. Because again, I don't want to hear injury excuses when you're on the mound. If you're hurt, don't pitch, because that is the oldest trick in the book and oldest excuse in the book. Oh, he was hurt, so why'd you pitch? You're going to tell me 8 starts, you never said you were hurt. So what are you going to, you're just going to continue to play like shit for the team just so you can say, hey, I was out there? That doesn't help your team. That doesn't help. You being injured and not being at your peak is a problem. Just sit out. Now, you're pitching 3 innings, 4 innings, and giving up 5-6 runs a game. I can assure you we can find better, or at least somewhat competent. So I don't get it anymore. I don't. Manaea is not a bulldog. Manaea sucks. I'm so sick of Manaea. Go back to the offseason. If anybody cares about what I said during the hot stove, that I did not want Sean Manaea for 2 reasons. And I definitely didn't want Manaea. And the only way I wanted Manaea on this team is if the Mets got a top starter along with him. They didn't do that. I did not want Manaea by himself. And I didn't want B or C level pitchers with Manaea. Because the whole point of getting Manaea was to be one of our top 2 starters along with Kodai Senga. That is such a stupid game plan that I don't know why everybody didn't believe it. Sean Manaea pitched one way his entire life in the pros, in the big leagues. He changes last year at the age of 33 years old, 32, 33 years old, changes mechanics that he never did in his career. And we just assume he was going to be healthy. Not only that he wasn't, and go back to the hot stoves. Again, you can even ask Chris this. I said it during the offseason prior to signing Sean Manaea. I said, this guy's going to get hurt. I didn't think he was going to get hurt before the season started, but I felt like he was going to get hurt. Why? Because pitchers just don't change their mechanics completely during a season just like that. And when your body has to get used to pitching a new way, there's other body parts that are not used to it and are prone to injury. I said that last year, and there's probably people in this chat room, in this comment section, that was there during those shows and heard me say it time after time after time. I was okay with bringing Shomaniah back. David, I'm not. I am not. Because for some reason, the Mets play the Phillies extremely well. The Mets played that team better than anybody else in baseball. I don't understand it, and I'm not even going to try to understand it. But I'm not. Because I still say this. I still think the Phillies are flawed. I truly believe that. And mentally, every team has another team they face that has their number. The Marlins has the Mets number. The Mets have had the Phillies number. I don't know why. And this is not me being confident about the Mets and the Phillies. It's just look at the last year and a half of games against the Phillies. We know about the Marlins and the Mets. Like, it's just what it is. I don't understand it, and I'm not even going to try to understand it. But worrying about the Phillies David, I agree. But I think it's only Kyle Schwarber. That's the thing. When the Mets beat the Phillies, Kyle Schwarber goes basically zeros. Yeah, David, but it doesn't matter though. The Mets play well against them. Again, when the Mets shut down Schwarber, the Phillies don't beat the Mets. Have you noticed that? Look at the last series the Mets swept against the Phillies. Real Muto and Kyle Schwarber were like the hottest hitters in baseball. They went 0 for 24 combined in that series. And the Phillies barely scored any runs. They look like a minor league team. They played bad defense. They still don't play good defense. Their bullpen's better with Duran, but their bullpens are still having problems. It's not like they're beating Murderers Row here. They're beating bad teams once again. The Phillies were coming in hot the last time the Mets swept them. Basically similar to what's going on now. The Mets are kind of on and off, and the Phillies were hot coming into the series. Schwarber and Real Muto were red hot. But David, Harper's not the difference. If you look at the series against the Mets with the Phillies, Harper was the best Philly in that series, but it didn't even make a dent in the game. In any game in the series. He was their best player, but it didn't make a difference because Schwarber and Real Muto got shut down. And I'm telling you, if you stop Kyle Schwarber, the Phillies have a hard time winning. Not saying they can't win. Let me make that clear. But just go back to the games the Mets have played against the Phillies. When the Phillies have won, which has been a couple of times this year, not a lot, Schwarber has gone crazy. When the Phillies lose, Schwarber doesn't have a good series. Alec Bohm sucks. Alec Bohm is so overrated. So overrated. Just ask Philly fans. And David, I know you probably don't do this, but I do. And I've claimed this for a while, and everybody can fact check me if you want. I don't know how you do that, but I like to listen to sports talk radio from other teams, other fan bases in other states when the Mets are playing those teams or about to play them. Like the Reds. I've been listening to Cincinnati Sports Talk Radio. Why? Because I'm nuts. All right? Like, I'm nuts. I'm sorry. Like, I'm at work and I'm listening to Cincinnati Sports Talk Radio, right? Do you know how hyped the Reds were coming into this Mets series? How Reds fans were? You had to hear the bad mouth talking. They were given the New York Mets. This is a Reds team that has been a failed franchise for a while. Now, the Mets haven't been that much better, but recently they've not been a very good team. The Reds act like they won a World Series in the last decade, the way they were speaking to these fans. David, that's not true. Again, you're going on wrong numbers. The Phillies rely on home runs. Again, don't look at the teams that they beat like the Marlins, like bad teams. And the Marlins have the Mets number, right? The Marlins don't have the Phillies number. The Mets have the Phillies number. But the fact is, don't look at games when the Phillies beat bad teams. When they place teams like the Mets, like teams that are top of the National League, and the Mets are sort of, they if they don't hit the home runs, yeah, David, tonight, okay, what about the other 30 days, the 30 games that they played? They've been the best team of runners in scoring position. Every night they go 5 for 7, 6 for 10 in runners in scoring position. They've been doing really good. One night, and you're going to go by that. It's silly. Yeah, and the Nationals too, you agree. But the Nationals also had the Phillies number 2 this year. So, again, when it comes to the Phillies, and I don't know, like baseball is so unique in that way. Like it just doesn't matter how bad or good a team is. There's always one team, just like any fan base, one team that they just can't beat. And every fan base has that one team. It's just how it goes. And sometimes it's a year-by-year basis. Sometimes it's their entire the last 10 years. I don't know why. It's just weird. But that's why we love baseball, because it's so unique in that fashion. That any day your team can win and lose. Why? Because it's baseball. Baseball has become, mostly the playoffs now, in my opinion, the same way the NHL playoffs has now, where all you got to do is get in and anybody can get hot and win the World Series. It's a fact. Well, David, you can be frustrated all you want, but the Mets right now beat the Tigers, who are one of the best teams in baseball, 2 out of 3. They can still win the series tomorrow. And if they do, they win back-to-back road series where everybody says that this is the toughest road trip of the year because you're facing one of the best teams in baseball in Detroit, the Reds, who were actually playing well prior to this series, and the Phillies, who are leading the NL East, who the Mets have. No, David, I will not watch the New York Giants. I won't. You see, I'm not the type of fan to give up on a team. I criticize the hell out of them because they deserve it a lot of the times. But there's too many people that act like the Mets are not in the playoffs today. Until they actually lose a playoff spot, don't come on this channel and say that they're not making the playoffs. Because you're an idiot. You are. The Mets, even when they were at their worst this year, never relinquished a playoff spot. Until they do that, now there's 20 games to go. Until they lose a playoff spot and they're actually out of playoff positioning at any point this year, then we can have that conversation. But don't talk about it when they consistently do it. David, weren't you the one saying that the Mets are going to sweep the Tigers? Right? Of course the Mets could lose all 4. The Mets can also win all 4. But why are we talking about the Phillies when we have a game tomorrow against the Reds? Tomorrow is a game where you can say bye-bye to the Reds and bury them. And the Giants just lost, the team wonder all of a sudden, the team that everybody think is the Cinderella team all of a sudden, Drew Gilbert's Barry Bonds, and the Giants are the best team in baseball all of a sudden. They lost to the Cardinals today, where they were the hottest team in baseball. So the Mets are still 4 games up in a wild card spot, by the way. So let's worry about the Reds tomorrow. Let's not look ahead to the Phillies. Why are we looking? We can't control what the Phillies do until we play them. That's it. And again, David, worry about the NFL. But you know what? Don't come back on this channel and talk about baseball when the Mets win a ball game, because this is what you do. And it does get annoying. Again, watch the Giants. I can care less. But the Mets win tomorrow, you'll be talking World Series, just like you did a couple of days ago. So it's okay. The Mets are still in a playoff spot. They're in a good position to win and make the playoffs. They're 4 games up with 20 to go. I don't like that they're in a wild card spot, but let's not act like the wild card spot is a dead trap. It's not. You make the playoffs, you have just as good as an opportunity as everybody else. Didn't we watch it last year? And I don't care about who the team was. The fact is, all you got to do is get hot at the right time. And there's no reason why the Mets can't. Like, that's it. Okay, David. Then don't come back on the channel. I'm being honest. Like, I just don't understand. No, David, you're talking like I talked. I says there's not much time. But then you say, hey, well, these kids, they got time. Well, no. You can't. The Mets don't have time, and then the pitchers have time. Nobody has time. The fact is, the Mets still have not relinquished the playoff spot. They got 20 games to go, and they're 4 games up on the division. I mean, on the wild card spot. Great. And when they make the playoffs, we can have our predictions then. Because, again, as bad as this team was in June, July, and August, they still never lost a playoff spot. Why do I think they're going to do that now? Because the Giants need us to lose, and they got to continue to win. We don't play each other anymore. We have the tiebreaker over the Giants. Right? Also, which is even more fun, guess who we play? We played the Padres. We played the Cubs, teams that we're chasing. And the Phillies, by the way. All teams that are in front of us, that we can take control over our own destiny by just beating them. We don't have to look over our shoulders. You beat that team, you gain a game. You don't have to worry about them winning or losing. David, you can't watch the Cowboys tomorrow because they played Thursday. And everybody thought they were going to get destroyed by the Phillies. And they played really damn well. Sorry. Giants. The Giants have an easier schedule, but what does that really mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, it really doesn't matter. The Mets have played better against teams over 500 than they did teams under 500. And they play more teams over 500 over the last 3 weeks of the season than under 500. So give me teams that are better because the Mets play up to these teams. I have no idea why. It's amazing. I don't get this team, right? I just don't get it. But you know what? The fact of the matter is this team has found a way to continue to stay in a playoff spot, regardless of how they played. And they've played better over the last month, especially the offense. So it's not a lot of credit, but I don't even know how they stayed in the playoff spot all this time while playing so badly over the last 3 months in June, July, and August. Like, it's amazing, but they have. And they deserve a little bit of credit for hanging on, but still, this is the new age of baseball. You don't have to be the best team to win a World Series or make the World Series anymore. Well, David, if the Mets make the playoffs this year, this will be the 3rd time in their history. Let's see, right? Yeah, the 4th time in their history that they've made the playoffs back-to-back years. So, according to Mets history, this has been consistent. Like, I don't know. Like, we don't got a great history. So it's not hard to beat this history. The same waste of time that we talked about the Pete Alonso Mets home run record, it wasn't very good. Pete Alonso could do that with his eyes closed. That's not great. Well, like, people made it out like it was 500 home runs. Like, he might get there, but, like, geez. David, get ahead. Juan Soto has been the best player on his team. He's gonna have more MVP votes than Pete Alonso if Pete Alonso even gets any. I'm going to say this right now. If Juan Soto, he's going to hit 40 home runs, which we're all the Yankee fans now talking about Juan Soto, right? He's never going to hit 40 home runs without Judge. Well, he's gonna. 40 home runs. And this is the problem with Mets fans. What Juan Soto is doing, no Met has ever done. Okay? So talk about, everybody likes to talk about Pete Alonso and Mets history, but David, I think so. Because even though Ohtani did 50 home runs, 50 stolen bases last year, when they were talking about Ohtani being MVP and basically unanimously winning the MVP last year was because of 40-40. Juan Soto, and that was as a DH last year. Now, he pitches now, and I don't think that should mean anything, to be honest with you, but if they're going to talk about Ohtani being 40-40, and that was the reason why he should get the MVP, if Juan Soto hits 40 home runs and steals 40 bases, shouldn't he win the MVP? And David, he's not that fast, but he's been great at stealing bases. The dude never sold this many bases in his career. He put another element to his game. Like, we all forget that he was batting 220 2 months ago. He's nearly batting 270. That is a 50-point jump in 2 months. You know how hard that is when you constantly get more and more at-bats? That's how good he's been. He's going to hit 40 home runs, even if he doesn't get the 40 stolen bases. Let's say he gets 36, 37. That's a hell of a season. He's going to bat over 270. He's going to have over 40 home runs. He's going to have close to 40 stolen bases. He has a 9. I don't care about OPS, but everybody else seems to do. So he has well over a 900 OPS. His on-base percentage is crazy. There's not one stat you can look at, maybe runners in scoring position, that has been the biggest problem this year. But he's been one of the best over the last 2 months. Like, outstanding with that all of a sudden. So he's going to have one of the best seasons overall, not just one or two categories, overall as a New York Met. And I'm certain he's going to be number 2 in MVP at the very least with the votes. Because these people are obsessed with Ohtani, and I think Ohtani's going to win it. But Juan Soto, unlike Pete Alonso for some reason, is going to get a ton of MVP votes. And he should. Like, this guy was batting 220 2 months ago. Go back to July. The beginning of July, the guy was batting 225. He's batting what, 268, 269 now? He's going to bat over 270. He's going to have over 40 home runs. And make no mistake about it, this guy is going to try to get 40 stolen bases. And we all hate the fact to give him credit for this, but when he was not hitting, he was getting on base for a red-hot Pete Alonso by walking. Nobody wants to bring that up because it gives credit to Juan Soto because he was doing something else while not being productive with the bat. He was getting on base for somebody who was hitting. Something that the Mets had problems with for years. They could not get on base for Pete Alonso. Yet Juan Soto does that, and people don't even want to bring it up. That is so huge for what the Mets did in the first 2 months of the season when Pete Alonso was MVP caliber in April and May. Do you know all those runs that Juan Soto has? Although a lot of those RBIs, Juan Soto was a part of that. Like, the Juan Soto-Pete Alonso pairing is basically almost as good as it was with Aaron Judge last year. Like, that's how crazy it's been, that close. Now, Juan Soto, Aaron Judge was dynamic, but Pete Alonso, Juan Soto is not that far off with their numbers. It's insane. It's very similar, except one thing, or a couple of things. Juan Soto didn't steal a lot of bases with the Yankees. I think he's played a better right field with the Mets than he did with the Yankees, which a lot of people said he's a bad right fielder, even though He's been probably better than people expected. He made a lot of bonehead plays last year with the Yankees in right field. He's been a lot better than I even expected, and I don't think he's as bad as people think. So, David, why? Why do you want to play Acuna? Acuna doesn't hit. Starting him in the game is pointless. His best asset is his speed. The dude can't get on base when he's starting. He's better for this team coming in late in games as a pinch runner or a defensive replacement. Unfortunately, because I wish he hits better, but he's shown no signs in the minors of doing that. And don't give me last year numbers because I don't care about those. They don't matter right now. Yeah, but David, his speed, he can bunt. You're not. Come on, David. Seriously? Like, what are we playing, Little League here? Like, you want him to bunt 4 times a game? Like, he just doesn't. So, listen, guys. Today's game sucked. But here's the positive. They play tomorrow. We get to see another young prospect up here and see if he performs. Hopefully he does. The Mets can come out tomorrow, win another series, and head to Philadelphia. Hopefully the Phillies lose a game tomorrow, and we're 6 games going into a 4-game series. The Giants lost. The Barry Bonds led / Drew Gilbert Giants are finally lost, and the Mets are still 4 games up on the wild card. Now, the Padres were winning. I don't know if they won. I can check really quick before I go. Let's see. Let me see. All right, so it's 10-7 in the bottom of the 7th, and they're playing in Colorado, so that game's not over. But as of right now, let's say the Padres who are winning, let's say they're winning the game. The Mets would be a game out of the second wild card, which is we still play the Padres, so I'm not worried about it. The fact that we go to bed, we put our heads on a pillow, the Mets are still 4 games ahead in the wild card, the same as we left it. Woke up this morning. David, I don't know. Like, Jonah Tung had 6 strikeouts, but did it matter? No, he gave up 4 runs. So, again, we're going to overly concern ourselves about strikeouts. You know what I care about? Give me 6 innings of no runs. Give me 6 innings, 2 runs or less. Because the Mets have a habit of giving up 4 runs or more. So, how about 6 innings, 2 runs? That's what I consider a good start, a really good start. Like, I'm not wasting my time with these 5 innings nonsense and strikeouts, because everybody strikes out in baseball now. Like, strikeouts are a stat that nobody cares about in baseball. Average and strikeouts. Nobody cares. So these batters are so bad that they strike out 150 times a year on average. It's a joke. So I don't care about strikeouts. Because what does that really mean? Jonah Tung had 6 strikeouts today, but it didn't help him giving up 4 runs. So I have no opinion on Brandon Sproat on if he's going to do good or bad, because we don't know. Everybody can have their opinion, but his minor league numbers mean shit to me. Until he does it at the major league level, I don't have any opinion. Now, when he pitches tomorrow and whatever the outcome is, that's when I'll give my opinion on those numbers, because those are the only numbers that matter. David, unfortunately, not in baseball anymore. When the average player, position player strikes out, starter, position player that's in the lineup averages around 150 strikeouts, people don't care about strikeouts anymore. Everybody strikes out in baseball. David, strikeout showed dominance? No, it doesn't. It shows that baseball has become a weak sport as hitters. There's more guys hitting less than 230 in baseball than there is batting 260 or higher, because they strike out a ton. Look at the average strikeouts among baseball. It's around 143. I checked it like 3 weeks ago, so it could be higher, it could be lower. But when the average, but you know what, David? None of these guys are Paul Skeens. Let's make that clear. Okay? But you know what Paul Skeens has done? He's pitched in the majors. And oh, by the way, how did Paul Skeens help that Pittsburgh Pirates team? Not much. Right? So, what does his strikeouts mean? Nothing. Right? I guarantee you, he will tell you every day of the week, I'd rather go 7 innings and strike out 4 guys and give up 2 runs or less than going 7 innings, striking out 10, but giving up 4 runs. Because that happens way too much in baseball. And it's rare. Yeah, but you know what, David? These guys go 6 innings or more consistently. That's what I care about. Like, we can talk about strikeouts all we want, but what if Sproat gives up 4 runs tomorrow in 6 innings, the same thing as Tong, but strikes out 7 guys? But we lose. Sproat, I don't think that's, I'm sorry. If you give up 4 runs in a game, I don't consider that a good start. I don't care how deep you go into a game. That is not a good start. It's not. You know, David, you see, you keep on giving examples of, oh, this guy can be this guy can be that guy. You know what I want Nolan McLean to be? The best version of himself. Stop comparing him to other players. It's a waste of time. You're talking about Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers. McLean is not that. The offense has to pick up the pitcher. That's all the offense has done. The pitching has not picked up the offense in 3 months. So the fact of the matter is, somebody needs to step up. McLean has. Tong, again, I don't like his outing today. I would take 3 less strikeouts if he gave me 3 less runs. Like, these guys are supposed to be top pitching prospects, not Tyler McGill, not Brendan Waddell, Davinsky, Hegerman. These guys are top pitching prospects. They're all in the top 100 of top prospects in Major League Baseball. Pitch like it. Please. Dominant. And David, I agree with you there. But it would be nice for a Mets pitcher to give less than 4 runs because they don't. McLean has done it more than anybody else so far. But 1 pitcher is not enough. Every day our pitchers are giving up starters giving up 4 runs or more. It's not a sustainable model. Your offense is going to only score 3 runs in a game. It's okay. The Mets are allergic to winning low-scoring games because their pitchers can't do that. So guess what? Tomorrow, I want Brandon Sproat to be fucking dominant. You know why? Because he's a top pitching prospect in the Mets system. He's a top 100 prospect in Major League Baseball. Pitch like it. Like, stop giving these guys excuses. They're up here because they're supposed to be top starters. Show it. I don't want to hear excuses for these guys. I don't give a shit they're young. We need to win ball games. There is no time to have these kids develop. That's what the minor leagues are for. You don't got 97 levels of the minor leagues in baseball to have these idiot pitchers develop in the major leagues because it's a waste of time. So, Brandon Sproat, 6 innings, 3 runs or less. Anything more than that, it's not a good start. If you want to come at me and say it's a good start, then I'm going to call you an idiot because that's what it is. It's making excuses for guys that's supposed to be better. With that said, have a good night. It's okay, Met fans. We're all frustrated by this loss. But we can come out tomorrow. Look, we got a little bit of help. The Giants lost. Great. The Padres are winning right now, but they're playing in Colorado. We know how that goes. So the Mets are still 4 games up of a wild card spot. They got 20 games to go, and they still have a chance tomorrow with Brandon Sproat in his MLB debut to win a series and win back-to-back road series. Have a good night. Let's go Mets, and I'll see you tomorrow for a pregame dolo and a postgame. How about that, guys? So have a good night. Let's go Mets, and I'll see you tomorrow, guys. Good night.
the Mets. Meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life.